All we need to know about Ford Pinto. Ford Pinto is a subcompact car made by Ford Motor Company, and it has 9 different models from 1971 to 1980 and was manufactured in 3 body styles: 1 2-door sedan, 2 3-door hatchback, and 3 2-door station wagon. Facts about Ford Pinto. Ford Pinto, also known as Mercury Bobcat, was the smallest American Ford car since 1907. Pinto by Ford was the first subcompact, that means cars that are smaller than compact car vehicle, produced by Ford in North America. Ford Pinto became infamous in the 1970s for bursting into flames if its gas tank was ruptured in a collision. Many deadly fires related to tanks of Ford Pinto rupturing happened during crashes from rear end. Because of the deaths and injuries, the jury awarded plaintiffs around $127.8 million in damages, and it's the largest ever U.S. product liability and personal injury case.
Ethical issues the Ford Pinto faced. The Ford Pinto came across many ethical issues due to the car being rushed into production so that Ford was able to compete with other leading car brands like Volkswagen. The Pinto's development was completed within 25 months, while the average development of a car takes 48 months at the time. Ford knew the vehicle was faulty. They knew how easily a collision could rupture the Pinto's fuel system from a rear-end collision that would cause the car to set on fire. But still, they decided to manufacture the vehicle anyways. Ford engineers found a solution to the faulty gas tank, but never implemented this solution due to the products already being tooled. The Ford engineers neglected to reinforce the fuel tank, endangering the public's health and safety and also breaking an important engineering ethics code.
Alright, so now moving on to what happened in early 1970s. Many Japanese firms were producing subcompact vehicles. Ford wanted to hop onto this as well, and they built the Pinto. The main goal here was to manufacture a car that weighed under 2,000 pounds and costed less than 2,000 US dollars, which is roughly around 14K in today's money. While in a rush, Ford produced Pinto in about 25 months, that is 18 months fewer than a vehicle had ever been produced back then. With the vehicle being manufactured in such a short period, serious dangers were involved, like the fuel tank was placed at a very risky position, the lack of a rear bumper and reinforcement caused the explosion of the tank, resulting in fire critics at every minor rear collision. Moreover, a report estimating the lawsuits of the costs of redesigning the auto was leaked. Liaco tied monetary values to despairs caused by both the deaths and injuries. Alright, so now moving on here, it says the cost analysis was leaked. After doing the math, it would cost Ford about 49 million US dollars in lawsuits and approximately 137 million US dollars in redesigning and fixing the detective tank. Ford ignored the problem and only dealt with the lawsuits. So over the next decade, at least 60 died in accident crashes and at least 120 got seriously burned. In June of 1978, fearing the establishment's reputation, Ford agreed to a voluntary recall program. The company recalled 1.5 million Ford Pintos, which at that time was the largest automotive recall in history.
The primary subject of this case is an engineer working for Ford. The ethical responsibility of the engineer was to ensure that the car was working properly in order for it to be reliable and safe for public use. The engineers also have the responsibility of acknowledging their errors and not altering any facts. The ethical issues faced by the engineers was the fact that they had a very short period of time to develop and design a car that would cost under $2,000. Anything that threatened their schedule or changed their price was discouraged by their CEO. The engineers were aware of a defect in the gas tanks. However, due to their CEO's expectations and demands, they stayed silent and released the car knowing it was potentially risking the life of their future consumers.
The engineers were asked to unethically develop a car model that weighed under 2,000 pounds by the president of Ford. Engineers know that the lower the mass of a car, the less stable it is. Ford engineers face ethical issues as some processes, usually conducted sequentially, were conducted in parallel during development so as to complete production in a short amount of time.
The engineers could have taken many alternate approaches, the first being from a consequentialist approach. The engineers could have started a petition to stop working on the cars until the CEO approved of the $11 per car cost difference to solve the issue on each of the cars. This approach will provide the greatest common good as it can resolve the issue and avoid any employees getting fired. The second approach is from a deontology approach. The engineers could have taken their findings to the media when the CEO refused to address their concerns. This would let them complete their duty of putting the consumer's safety first. However, it will result in them getting fired and most likely legal implications. They also may not be trusted to work for other companies again. The third approach is from a virtue ethics approach. The engineer can bring up their concerns to the CEO or refuse to work on the car. Either way, they risk losing their job and still would not resolve the issue. The most appropriate alternate approach for the engineer to take would be the consequentialism approach. This approach guarantees the best results, as the CEO cannot fire all of his employees and release the car in the time frame he was aiming for. Most likely, he would have agreed to their demand of spending an extra $11 per car in manufacturing to ensure the safety of their consumers. It's also the approach where someone is least likely to get fired.